The ball reaches the center back. 3 opponents explode toward him at once. Not 1, 3. And somehow, this is not chaos. It is choreography. The strange part, the players pressing the ball are often not trying to win it immediately. They are trying to control where it goes next. Think about that for a second. A team can be running full speed at the ball while their real target is a pass that has not even been played yet. That is high pressing. And once you understand it, entire matches start looking different. You stop seeing 11 players chasing a football. You start seeing traps. In April 2018, Manchester City completed more passes than almost anyone in Europe. They dominated possession. They controlled games. Yet, in the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals, they faced a Liverpool side that attacked them in a completely different way. Not by sitting deep, not by waiting, by hunting. Inside the opening half hour of the first leg, Liverpool scored 3 times. The speed was shocking, but the goals were only the visible part. The real story was happening before the goals. Every pass felt uncomfortable. Every touch felt rushed. Every decision arrived half a second too late. Here's the part nobody tells you. A successful high press is not about running harder than the other team. If that were true, every energetic amateur side on earth would dominate football. They do not. The best pressing teams are terrifying because they are organized. Each sprint has a purpose. Each angle closes a door. Each player knows where the next pass is supposed to go before it happens. That idea changed modern football. Managers such as Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola built entire systems around controlling space before the ball even arrived there. Different styles, different philosophies, same obsession. What happens in the few seconds after possession changes hands? Because football matches are often decided there, not during long attacks, not during beautiful passing sequences. In those frantic moments when one team has the ball and suddenly wishes it did not. And that raises a question. If pressing is so powerful, why doesn't every team simply do it all the time? The answer starts with understanding what the press is actually trying to achieve. And that's where the story gets interesting.
The easiest way to understand a high press is to stop thinking about the ball. For a moment, forget it completely. Instead, watch the exits, because that is what the pressing team is watching. The classic example came from one of the most feared teams of the modern era, Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp. People remember the goals. They remember the celebrations. They remember the noise. What they often miss is the map hidden underneath it all. Imagine Liverpool's front 3 standing high up the pitch. The goalkeeper has the ball. The center backs spread wide. Everything looks normal. Then the trap begins. The striker does not sprint directly at the goalkeeper. That would be pointless. Instead, he curves his run. A small detail, a huge difference. His run blocks one passing lane while pressuring another. The goalkeeper now sees fewer options. Not because they disappeared, because they were hidden. That is the first secret of pressing. The press is not chasing the ball. It is removing choices. Here's what most people miss. The player closest to the ball is often not the most important presser. The second and third players matter just as much, sometimes more. As the ball reaches a defender, another attacker jumps toward the next passing option. A midfielder moves up behind him. A fullback squeezes inward. Suddenly, the player on the ball feels surrounded, not physically, mentally. By the time he decides where to pass, the answer is already wrong. This is why commentators often say a player was forced into a mistake. The word forced matters. Elite professionals do not suddenly forget how to pass. The environment changes around them. The clock speeds up. The space shrinks. The decision becomes harder. In Liverpool's Champions League run of 2018 and their Premier League winning season of 2019-20, opponents constantly experienced this feeling, not because Liverpool had faster players everywhere, because they compressed time. A midfielder who normally had 3 seconds to look up suddenly had 1. A defender who normally saw 4 passing options suddenly saw 2. The ball felt heavier. The pitch felt smaller. And once the mistake arrived, Liverpool attacked immediately. Notice what just happened. The press created something every coach wants. The ball was won close to goal. No long build-up required. No 30-pass sequence needed. Just one rushed decision, one interception, one attack. But there is a problem, a very big one. Every player involved in the press is stepping forward. Every line is becoming more aggressive. And whenever a team commits numbers forward like that, something dangerous appears behind them. Space. A lot of it. The question is simple. What happens when the opponent escapes the trap?
But the moment a high press succeeds, it also creates its greatest weakness, space. Huge amounts of it. Every step forward by the pressing team leaves something behind, and elite opponents know exactly where to look. This is why high pressing is one of football's greatest paradoxes. The thing that makes it powerful is also the thing that makes it dangerous. A perfect example arrived at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Kylian Mbappe barely needs a few meters to become a problem. Give him 20? Now he becomes a nightmare. When opponents press aggressively and leave space behind their defensive line, players like Mbappe suddenly have an invitation. One pass, one run, one race, and the entire press is broken. This is why coaches talk endlessly about distances. Not just effort, distances. The forwards must press. The midfield must follow. The defenders must step up. If even one line arrives late, gaps appear, and football punishes gaps. Fast. You have probably watched a match where one team looked dominant for 20 minutes, pressed relentlessly, won the ball high up the pitch, and then suddenly conceded from a single counterattack. At the time, it felt random. It wasn't. You were watching the risk built into the system. The press had stretched too far. The chain broke. One pass escaped. Everything changed. That is why the best pressing teams are rarely the teams that run the most. They are the teams that move together. This worked brilliantly for Klopp's Liverpool, but the coaches who came after saw something different. They asked a new question. What if pressing could be used not just to win the ball back, but to control the entire match? That idea pushed the evolution even further. Look at modern teams between 2023 and 2025. Many no longer wait for a bad touch before pressing. They build pressing triggers into their system. A trigger is a specific moment that tells everyone to attack the ball simultaneously. A pass to the weaker foot, a ball played toward the sideline, a defender receiving while facing his own goal. The instant that trigger appears, the trap snaps shut. This is what results in something remarkable. The opponent feels pressure before pressure actually arrives. Players begin rushing passes early. They avoid risky options. They choose the safe ball. And without realizing it, they start playing the game the pressing team wants them to play. That is the real evolution. The best presses are no longer just defensive weapons. They are tools of control. But there is still one final piece missing. Because if pressing is really about controlling decisions, then the most important question is not how teams win the ball. It is why the ball ends up exactly where they wanted it all along. Go back to that center back from the beginning. The one receiving the ball while three opponents sprint toward him. It looked chaotic. It looked frantic. It looked like panic. Now look again. The press was never really about him. It was about the decision he was about to make. That is the final piece. The best pressing teams do not hunt the ball. They hunt decisions. Every movement in a high press is designed to shape what the opponent sees. Close one passing lane. Tempt another. Make the safe option disappear. Leave the dangerous option looking open. Then wait. The pass arrives exactly where the trap was built. Think about how strange that is. A team can influence a decision before it happens. Not by touching the ball, not by tackling, not even by speaking, just by standing in the right places at the right time. That is why the greatest pressing sides often look faster than everyone else. They are not always faster. They are earlier. Earlier to the space. Earlier to the idea. Earlier to what comes next. When Guardiola's teams press, when Klopp's teams press, when modern elite sides launch coordinated pressure across the pitch, they are all chasing the same advantage: prediction. The ability to arrive before the opponent realizes where the game is going. And that is why high pressing changed football. For decades, defending was largely reactive. The opponent moved first. You responded. High pressing flipped the relationship. Now, the defending team often dictates the action. The attacker thinks he is making a choice. The press made that choice for him 30 seconds ago. This is the thing that changes how you see everything. The next time you watch a match, do not focus on the tackle. Do not focus on the interception. Do not even focus on the player sprinting at the ball. Watch the players around him. Watch the doors closing. Watch the exits disappear. Because the real battle starts before possession is won. And once you see that, high pressing stops looking like 11 players running. It starts looking like 11 players thinking the same thought at the same time. Football is not a game of who reaches the ball first. At its highest level, it is a game of who reaches the future first.